Well, right now we are going to talk about the chapter number 5, which the topic is Cisco Identity Service Engine with the Cisco DNA Center. There is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 subtopics. It's one of the biggest chapters that we have, and it talks about the ICE, Identity Services Engine. In Cisco we have a specific book for this, but here in this chapter it talks about the integration between the ICE and the Cisco DNA Center, also called Catalyst Center. First, policy management in Cisco DNA Center with ICE. What is talked in this chapter? Here in this chapter we talk about how is managed the policies. We know that normally the policies can be also created on ICE, but since there is an integration between ICE and Cisco DNA Center, where are we going to configure our policies? Well, normally it is done inside the Catalyst Center. It means inside the DNA Center. This is the central place where we are going to be using to do our policies. You know that normally here in Catalyst Center we work a lot with the service group tags. Then with service group tags we create a policy to define if these service group tags can communicate with which device. So instead of doing that inside ICE, we are going to do that inside the Catalyst Center. For this reason, there is some things that need to be done to allow this integration. This communication between ICE and Catalyst Center is done using the following protocols, like the SSL for the HTTPS communication. It's done also with the PX grid, which is a node inside ICE responsible with communication with another ecosystems. And there is also an important thing that is ERS. So these are the things that we need to activate inside our ICE. And for SSL, normally we work with the certificates. So it's important to guarantee that the certificate that we are using is allowed inside our infrastructure. Going to the next session, group-based access control is create groups. Who can communicate with who? And we are going to talk a little bit deeper in the following subtopics. Passing to the third, segmentation with third-party radio servers. It's important to understand that normally in our infra it is possible to have a third-party radio servers. Our radio servers may be not Cisco. It can be any other vendor, and this integration is possible without problems. How it is done? Normally we have our switch, for example. Here we can have our third-party radios, and here we can have our ICE. Whenever a user tries to access this switch and to have access to the network, this switch is going to talk with the radios. This radios is going to give us information about which authorization and the authentication of the users, and then the switch will communicate with ICE to be able to download the policies specific for that users. So we can have this communication, it's done without problem, and we can have our infra with the Catalyst Center also talking with an external or a third-party radios server. Secure host onboarding in enterprise network. So in the host onboarding there are some implementation that we can do. There are some different part of different types of host onboarding that is talked. We have single host mode. It means um, this switch, for example, it only allows one of device connected. If there is another user connected to the device, it will be automatically blocked. Second type is multi-host mode. The multi-host mode is a little bit different because you can have more than one user connected to the switch. On the multi-domain is the third one, multi-domain mode. We can have a port of the switch like being used with one phone, and after the phone we have a laptop. So this switch, it authenticates the phone, giving a VLAN to the phone, and then it authenticates also the computer, giving a VLAN to the computer. Whenever a new phone or a new computer tries to have access to the switch, it will be automatically also blocked. And the last one is the multi-out mode. We can have different devices connected, and each device we are going to authenticate it separately. So this is the four types of endpoints host modes. Going to the next, 802.1x phased deployment. In our phased deployment is how to implement the .1x in our infrastructure. Normally it must be done phased by phases, because if we implement it everything in the same time, we can have multiple users blocked. So how is done the phases? We have two phases. Phase 1, where we used to monitor the device. It's named monitor mode. And there is also the phase 2, which we can have two types of authentication. We have the low impact mode, and we have also the closed mode. So in first phase, everything is allowed, and we are going to see which traffic is passing through. In the second phase, not everyone is allowed. It's a little bit more restricted, but there is some specific traffic that can be allowed. For example, the traffic to the DHCP, to the DNS, it's going to be allowed, so in order to our devices be able to reach the infra. In a closed mode, it implicates automatically the .1x. He can only have access to our infra after it authenticates with .1x. So it means the only things allowed here in the closed mode is the EAP traffic. Going to the host onboarding with Cisco DNA Center. How to put new hosts in our infra. We have our fabric. Our fabric normally downloads all the information, all the parameters that the switch needs to have, but we may sometimes have specific requisites depending of our business, that depending in what we want to do. For the host onboarding, it is also related to the phased approachment, But here in host onboarding, we can have three methods of three templates that we apply. The first one is no authentication template. There is no template and there is a specific VLAN associated to the port. The second one is an open authentication template, which a template we have the port is open, but the port is also configured with a template. If we need to change some parameter, instead of changing port by port, we can just modify the template, and the template, as long as it is associated with several interfaces, all the interfaces will be changed in the same basis. Then we have the closed authentication. What is also more, it looks like the closed mode, where the only traffic that we have is the EAP traffic, and we have the easy connect, which is like low impact mode, that we have specific ACL access control list with the restriction to have access to our infra. If the device is not authenticated yet, it will be only authorized to access the specific destination like DHCP and DNS using the ACL defined on the interface. Security in Cisco software defined access network. Security is a very important part in the Cisco network, and we have here two kinds of security, which is macro segmentation, what I said that we are going to talk later, and we have also micro segmentation. How is done? Macro segmentation is done normally via virtual networks, and micro segmentation is done via VXLAN. We have a more restricted. Here is more general, and here we have a more restriction. Inside the same subnet, we can have restriction to each user. That's why normally he talk here about the micro segmentation that is done with the VXLAN in association with the services or scalable group tags, normally called SGT. Here we have the virtual network. Policy set overview in Cisco ISE. So like I said, the policies can be done on the Catalyst Center, and the Catalyst Center will push what we done to the ISE, and the ISE will be responsible to guarantee that each node device, normally the point of the enforcement is the point of the exit. So the ISE will be responsible to push the configuration that we done on Catalyst Center. It will push to each of the edge node, each of the switches. Okay, segmentation, policy construction in Cisco SD access. We can have different type of policies and segmentation done on Catalyst Center. We can segmentate our corporate, and we can also segmentate our guest network. In our guest, we can be able to say, for example, inside the same guest SSID, the guests, the endpoints that are inside this guest SSID may or may not communicate with each other. We can do that inside our Catalyst Center. Segmentation outside of the fabric. The communication with outside of the fabric, if we want to keep using our service group tag, can be done in two ways. We can do that inline, directly on the routing, and we can do that also with the secured scalable group tag XP. It is, we can export our SGT to devices that are outside of the fabric. That is how is done the communication between our fabric and our outside devices. So this is what is talked normally in this chapter. What is chapter number 5? Cisco Identity Services Engine with Cisco DNA Center.